Gen Z is facing incredible pressure to look perfect. The filtered and edited world of social media has completely warped our perception of the normal human appearance. And the scary truth is, children as young as 13, and now more women than ever, are injecting steroids and performance enhancing drugs to build muscle. And in some cases, young men and women are going into debt for cosmetic surgeries just to conform to an impossible ideal. I've been seeing a lot more content around this because obviously women want to lose weight and not really build more muscle. It's rare that women really want to build muscle, but they do want to look better, obviously. So the correlation between Ozempic could be the reason for the increase in women using steroids. But the increase in children and young people using steroids and performance enhancers more is quite interesting. And it says a lot about the state of society when we have children openly posting their drug abuse. But we're seeing like teenage girls dabbling in trend. I think even though it's still shocking, it's more normal to see a teenage boy or like to imagine a teenage boy taking steroids. Obviously, steroids are androgen receptors, so they attach to the androgenic parts of the body. So, like your shoulders, your delts, other areas, and they cause side effects that you would expect to see in males. So, they cause male characteristics. So, it is quite shocking seeing so many women taking a drug that is synthesized from the male hormone, meaning there will be some male side effects such as deepening of the voice, hair growth, other types of growth, along with the muscle mass retention and along with the increased recovery rate. But it's still shocking, nevertheless, to see boys as young as 13, 14 talking about how they are taking steroids because of the long-term side effects, but as well as the fact that they are completely messing with their endocrine system. They are completely messing with their hormones in a way that could be completely detrimental long term. It just seems to have exploded. And maybe that is because of social media. It is because of social media. I mean, like when you look at the correlation between Gymshark's explosivity and the rise in steroids, and how Gymshark was like one of the first social media brands, or like one of the first brands to really take social media by storm. So Gymshark really capitalized initially, and it still does, on that social media presence. And so maybe that is why this explosion in steroid and PED use has happened. And I guess that would make sense since social media has kind of affected every other aspect of our lives. But it's not just Gymshark, it's social media in general. It's just heightened the level and the standard that has to be met for every aspect of life. Like, normal is no longer good enough. The normal physique achieved through exercise and diet is almost not good enough, even though that is the better route as it provides overall health. Whereas the PED abuse, whilst, yes, you're getting quicker recovery, you're getting faster results, it does come at a cost, and that cost is your health. Everything comes at a price, and you're either shortening your life or you're potentially making life more difficult, because you'll either have to be on hormone replacement for the rest of your life if you've completely shut down your body's ability to naturally make hormones, or death. Of course, the amount of IFBB pros who have sadly passed away from steroid abuse. But I suppose the mental toll, as a lot of bodybuilders and fitness people have said that even though they've been able to achieve these incredible physiques, they still don't feel satisfied. So even when you take these PEDs and you achieve the amazing physique, you can still be left dissatisfied or you have, again, this distorted view of reality where you think your physique's not good enough. Even I feel like, as a normal person, you can still suffer from this. As an avid gym goer, sometimes I do feel, I don't know if I am judging my physique too harshly, but I feel like you gain a little bit of weight and you're looking at your previous body and you're thinking, oh my God, I need to get back into that shape. But honestly, even though I've gained weight, a lot of people tell me I look better now because people would say like, oh, you were a little bit too thin back then. I was like shredded as hell. I was so skinny. Yeah, I was so skinny. I was being that skinny, I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of people tell me I look better now with the added 10 to 15 pounds. But even with people saying that, I would still want to lose the 10 to 15 pounds, even though people think I look good now. But it really is about your own perception of yourself. And if you don't think you look good, you're gonna take it that extra level. And not everybody, but you're gonna wanna try things. And I think now with social media messing with people's perceptions, and obviously you've got these people, you know, the fake natties. If somebody's telling you they're naturally achieving this, it's gonna make you think, oh, what's wrong with me? The part that is often left out is that your genetics have a big part to play in this. I'm not taking away from people's work ethic. Some studies show that even without exercise, the body reacts to steroids. So technically, you can take steroids and do nothing and gain muscle because they've done studies on this. But people like the IFBB pros and the pro athletes, even actors who take steroids, you still have to put in the work to achieve that body. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. So genetics does have a large part to play, but you do have to put in that work. When it comes to the genetic factor, I think people do need to consider that because you're not gonna be able to achieve the exact same physique that somebody that you've seen online has. And if you're going to compare yourself to people, you should at least compare yourself to people who have as similar of a build to you as possible. When it comes to women taking these performance enhancers, it is certainly interesting as an avid gym goer. I'm not anywhere near as in good shape as I used to be. I've never myself been tempted to take PEDs, but if you think about it, Ozempic is like a PED because it is doing something that bodybuilders have been doing for years, which is taking fat burners and stuff like that to lose weight for show. So in a way, Ozempic is a mainstream PED. So have I been tempted to take Ozempic? Yes, I have wanted to take Ozempic, but it's just such a new drug and there are so many side effects. Like the one that scares me the most is the stomach paralysis because that is just absolutely outrageous. But with the women taking PEDs, when I think about it in terms of Ozempic, I kind of get it because it's just so hard to achieve certain results, especially as a woman. Losing fat is significantly more difficult as a woman than it is a man. And as a woman, your healthy body fat percentage is around 10%. Like you minimum need 9 to 10% body fat as a woman to function and still have a healthy menstrual cycle and all that stuff. Whereas as a man, you need a minimum of like 3 to 4%. So positive is you can be a lot heavier as a woman and still look good, whereas a man has less leeway in how fat they can be and how much body fat they can carry and them looking good. But that also has to do with your perception of what percentage of body fat looks good. I've got to say, the side effects from the proper PEDs, Anavar is the main one that women use because it has the least amount of androgenic response, but it's still a synthetic androgen. So with prolonged and high use, you're still going to get those side effects. But now we're just seeing regular people taking PEDs, not even competing, not even having that much input into the fitness industry. So it just shows that all this stuff is now bleeding into mainstream society. And then when it comes to the cosmetic procedures, they have just gotten so out of control. It's insane, especially on the men's side, which I never expected men to go to such extreme lengths to achieve the standard that has now been set for them. Because in the past, men were not as affected by beauty standards, and there's many reasons for this. It could be because like men weren't really valued for their looks in the past. It was more for their output, what they could produce, whereas now in society men are in the workforce and women are in the workforce, so maybe that has emphasized the need for men to be more aesthetic because things are more even in the employment factor. So men are being more judged on their appearance rather than just their production value. But with the procedures that men are getting, they are like, yeah, unhinged. At least the specific procedure I'm thinking of, which is leg lengthening surgery. A purely cosmetic thing, except I've seen people who have dwarfism get this surgery. So in that instance, it's still cosmetic because there are plenty of people with dwarfism who don't get this surgery, but it actually makes sense for somebody with dwarfism to get this rather than a guy who's 5'6" wanting to be 6 foot. And a lot of these guys do state that this desire is mainly for women, to impress women, but I feel like if a woman found out you got a leg lengthening surgery, that would obviously negate the attraction they might have felt for you. I don't know. I know I wouldn't really be down with that because I'd be worried about your medical health. I do find that one particularly disturbing just because it's so invasive and you're essentially taking a healthy person and risking a life of no longer being able to walk. I've seen some people do several rounds. I've seen some people keep the stints in and they do the lengthening themselves at home, which is so disturbed. That is so disturbing. But obviously, you see the memes, the jokes about planes from Turkey full of men with their freshly done hair transplants. But I'd say those are the two procedures that come to mind when I think of men. But honestly, it gets crazy because now there's even people doing the ab etching. So we've seen people calling Drake BBL Drake for his. They're definitely etched. Drake's abs are definitely etched, let's be real. Like, you can't have a soft body everywhere else and then just have abs. That's just not how it works. And when you look at previous pictures of Drake when he was much slimmer, that's not what his abs look like. So you can see that there's some influence there. They're calling him BBL Drizzy. But not just the ab etching. We're also seeing some people pioneering the use of muscle implants, which I just think is so dumb and so dangerous. Like, I cannot imagine that being comfortable, having these solid masses of silicone protruding through your body. And also, we are seeing the use of filler more in men. So with Zac Efron, I know he says he fell and hit his, but I'm sorry, why are his lips bigger as well and stuff like that? And his jawline and chin are just completely different. I don't believe him. I love Zac Efron. He will always be my first crush from High School Musical, you know, Troy Bolton. Like, I still love Zac Efron. He's such a chill guy. He's such a down-to-earth guy, but I do think he's lying about it. Because, like, he's never admitted to taking steroids either, but especially for that, it's not White Claw, Iron Claw. White Claw. Especially for Iron Claw, he was definitely on something for Iron Claw. Like, he looks completely different. And I do think we're seeing more facial aesthetic changes in men using filler as well as surgical implants. We're seeing men changing their faces more to get that like more chiseled look, the Giga Chad look, as the internet has dubbed it. But now onto the cosmetic side we're used to talking about, cosmetic surgery in women. And we could talk about this all day. And honestly, it has gotten out of control, but I think we're still in our infancy when it comes to cosmetic surgery, just because when you do look at countries like South Korea, like it is plastered everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. There is advertisements for cosmetic surgery. They've got kids getting cosmetic surgery, getting their double eyelid surgeries, which they absolutely do not need. Like, there is nothing wrong with monolid eyelids. But it's kind of similar to kids here getting their ears pinned back. Like, it's a surgery you don't need, but it happens. But in South Korea, the plastic surgery level is no joke. You often have to attach a photo with your job application, which I think has a big part to play in the high levels of plastic surgery. Because if you think about how competitive of a society South Korea is, everybody's on their A game, everybody's got amazing grades, everybody's doing extracurricular stuff. If everybody's that good, how else are you going to choose a candidate who is the best? You're going to choose off of looks at that point. So it completely makes sense that competitiveness has now gone into the way people look. Back to us in the West and our rapid adoption of cosmetic surgery, I specifically want to focus on Gen Z and the younger generations, just because older people have been getting plastic surgery for a very long time. The strange part is seeing people who are so young touching their faces to the point that they are completely unrecognizable, because that's not what cosmetic surgery used to be about. It used to be about fixing things, not that you even need to fix things unless you've got something so serious, like a serious underbite where you need orthodontic intervention. But you get what I'm saying. They used to fix stuff like a deviated septum, the deviated septum that everybody used to have. But now it's just about completely changing yourself to conform to this weird, ambiguous mold and standard that is unachievable in nature and is frankly just making everybody look the same. Like, it's the same upturned fox eye, the same buccal fat removal, the same jawline filler, the same boobs, the same BBL, copy paste. And like, you're just removing everything that makes a person interesting to look at, like that, the slight crookedness of the teeth, and maybe you do have a slightly thinner top lip, and I have a flat nose. It's just becoming insane. Honestly, like, when you look on social media, it's everywhere. And it also reminds me of Molly May when she came out of the UK version of Love Island and she posted that picture and she got dragged on social media and people were saying she looked like a 50p, but she sort of came to her senses, and I think that was from the dragging, which just shows that, I guess, societal pushback can bring people back into reality. And she even said she didn't even realize that she looked like that, and that her view was so distorted that she thought that she looked normal, and that people bring it up actually woke her up. But it is interesting seeing how much younger people are getting these procedures done. People are so afraid to age that I do think that they are ironically aging themselves. When you're this young, I think your focus should be on enjoying being young, because old people are trying to look younger. You can't look any younger when you're already young, unless you're trying to look like a literal child. To me, it's not even about looking young. when you're changing your whole face, it's to conform to these weird new standards, but also maybe a deep form of self-hatred, or perhaps a lack of self-esteem, or a lack of identity. I think a lot of people lack purpose and identity, so maybe that struggle then surfaces itself in this way. So now that we've discussed these strange standards that plague us, let's talk about how the trap actually works. When you scroll through your feed and you see these perfect bodies, flawless skin, and ideal features, but none of it's real. And that's because these platforms bombard us with these altered images that make us feel inadequate by comparison. And we see that with these filters. They slim your nose, they plump your lips, they cover every blemish on your face, and they make your regular face unrecognizable to yourself anymore. Around 2021, when we were all locked in the house, that's when the filters started to really ramp up. And they got really good at that point. And I would say a lot of people were addicted to using filters at that time. I know this because I wouldn't say I was addicted to using them. I'm going to just put some examples up of how distorted my sense of reality was from using these. And now I look at these pictures, I'm like, these are terrible pictures. These look awful, and this looks nothing like me. Back then, I was like, yeah, these are absolutely slap. Like, this filter is giving me the tea. It was not tea. I looked bad. But my sense of reality was so distorted that when I would open the camera, the filter was already on there. And one day, for some reason, it wasn't on there. That shock of seeing my own actual face on the camera is what made me snap out of it. Not because I thought I looked good, but the fact that I was shocked by seeing my own face. You shouldn't be shocked to see what you really look like. And that's the day I decided to stop using them, because I was like, this is distorting my perception of reality, and I don't want to be delusional. So before long, all this pressure will have you considering more drastic measures. The numbers don't lie, and they're telling a pretty disturbing story about what's happening beneath the surface. And we saw this with cosmetic procedures jumping by 7% just last year alone. And Gen Z were the ones leading the charge towards younger and more frequent interventions. And this completely makes sense considering the Gen Z outlook on life. Everything's pretty bleak. So why not just spend your money now and be happy? But that has led to the average age for somebody's first time procedure dropping drastically. So throughout the video, we've touched on some of the possible reasons, but what's driving the obsession for physical perfection might actually surprise you. Looking at this from a more unique angle, I personally believe that this new drive for physical perfection is deeper than just being attractive. I actually think that it's a need for control. And what I mean by this is that in a world that is increasingly chaotic and unpredictable, being able to have control over your appearance offers a feeling of power and stability. Now, again, when I think about my own journey with my appearance and changing so much, even though the things that I did were purely, I suppose, holistic, weight loss, getting better haircuts, better clothes, just enhancing my natural look. This does offer a feeling of control, I would say. It feels good to see those changes happening in real time. Like, you see the weight coming off and you feel better about yourself, and you can really become addicted to those changes. It really does give you that sense of routine and sense of control because you're seeing the results and it feels like, wow, my actions actually do have the reaction. There is actually an outcome. And in a world like this, something like that can be quite soothing. So when we look at it from that angle, it's not just vanity for vanity's sake. It's an attempt to measure a form of success in a world that may feel otherwise stalled or directionless. It's still a goal to work towards and something to achieve. And I know we always say that beauty is only skin deep and that beauty isn't everything. But when we look at our world where we have people like models who get paid for being attractive, and when some of the most famous people in the world have been immortalized in history for how attractive they are, Marilyn Monroe, Helen of Troy, Cleopatra. So clearly, subconsciously, we do know that there is value in attractiveness. And anything that has value, psychologically, humans will want to strive towards and will want that for themselves. So maybe the real question isn't about beauty at all, but about finding better ways to feel accomplished and secure in a world that is increasingly unstable and incredibly competitive. Every filtered image and enhanced body moves that goalpost for what is viewed as a normal further away from reality. And so that leaves us with the question, when will enough be enough? And is beauty really worth dying for? Okay, really post-edit me. I just wanted to leave one final question to get discussion going in the comments. I suppose that millennials as well will understand this feeling. As a Gen Z or millennial person, do you feel as though the standards have had you thinking about getting things done or tweaked? If so, do you think that that has been influenced by social media, or is it something that is a personal insecurity due to something that has happened to you, for example, an accident or like a severe extreme weight loss, so you've got extra skin? And if you feel like you had that procedure, whether it's for a personal insecurity or a social media reason, do you think that fixing that insecurity is enough, or do you feel like it could spiral and you would want other stuff done? Because I do think about that sometimes. I'm like, I haven't had anything done, but if you start, is it going to be enough? Like, I don't know, which is kind of why I kind of stay away from it. But at the same time, there's things from extreme weight loss that I do want to change, but I'm not. I don't know, I'm thinking about it. I've had some consultations and stuff, but I haven't gone through with it because I'm like, I do think about that sometimes. So let me know in the comments.